Listen, thank you again very much for being here again this year. Very crucial year. 18 years after the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act, you'd think things would be pretty well settled. But here we are 18 years later, fighting for the very things that we thought we put in the ADA when we passed it 18 years ago. And that was one of the things was independent living, as you know, and economic self-sufficiency. Now those two things have kind of gone by the wayside because of some of these Supreme Court decisions. So what we have to do is we have to restore the ADA to what it was when we passed it 18 years ago. I know you're here in town. I hope this is going to be one of your major efforts. It's already passed the House. Steny Hoyer was very good, and Speaker Pelosi in getting it through the House. Now we got to get it through the Senate. Things take a little bit longer in the Senate, as you know, and so we're working on it. Hopefully we'll get it done this year. But I think the thing to keep in mind is simply this. We are not going to sit back any longer and let this Supreme Court erode our rights under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Just as your founder, Ed Roberts, did so many years ago, and Judy Heumann and others, when they bound together, they said, look, we have to make sure that we have a Civil Rights Act that covers all people with disabilities. Everyone, with no exceptions. And we want to make sure it works. It works so that employers provide accommodations for people, that we have accessibility in transportation, that we have accessibility in housing and in buildings and everything else throughout this country, that we're not discriminated against when we want to go to ball games or restaurants or anything else, that our families can join with us. Well, we did all that, and we've come a long way in 18 years. I mean, employers are making accommodations. Transportation is becoming more and more accessible all the time. Ramps are all over the place. So things are happening. We can look back and say that what we did 18 years ago was good, and it has changed America for the better. But now, because of the decisions of a few Supreme Court justices, they put people with disabilities in a terrible situation. In other words, the harder you try to overcome your disabilities, whether it's through medicines you may take or prostheses or using chairs or whatever assistive device you want, so you're improving your lives, you're out there working. If you do that, the Supreme Court says you may not be covered anymore. So it's put people with disabilities in a terrible situation. If I go to get a job and I use assistive devices, or I take medicine that will allow me to do that job, well, if I do that, then I'm not covered by the ADA and the employer can fire me. And then I can't go to the courthouse and claim discrimination under the ADA because I'm no longer disabled. On the other hand, if I don't use assistive devices and I don't take medicine and things like that, I can't get the job. So you talk about a terrible situation that the Supreme Court has put people with disabilities in. I know of no other sector of our society today that operates under those constrictures in our society. No other group of people, and by gosh, it's not going to happen any longer to people with disabilities either. So I'm here to tell you, as the Senate sponsor of the ADA 18 years ago, actually we worked on it longer than that, but it was 18 years ago that it passed. I've watched with dismay what this Supreme Court has done. But we have a good bill in the ADA Restoration Act. We're going to make a few changes from what the House had, but they'll be good. We just need you, when you're on the Hill this week, to pound on those doors and tell them, look, we got over being second-class citizens 18 years ago. We don't want to be second-class citizens any longer in our society.